Good morning and welcome to Veterans Heartbeat on the Pulse of the Veteran, where we discuss issues of health, happiness, opportunity, and well-being of interest to the veteran community, their families, and the community who honors them.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Veterans Heartbeat, brought to you by River, the Rural Institute for Veterans Education and Research. My name is Jason Zencraft. My co-host Ed Lisofsky is here with me, and he is the Executive Director of River. We welcome you to a weekly wide-ranging discussion of issues, events, opportunities, and needs in our veteran community. Morning, Ed. How you doing?
Morning, Jason.
We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Farside Signs. They create amazing-looking vehicle graphics that will drive traffic to your business. They are located at 1526 South Avenue West in Missoula. Follow them on the web, Instagram, and Facebook, or just stop on by.
Well, this morning we have Sam Redford in the studio with us. And Sam is with Concerned Veterans of America, a political organization that supports the veterans in the state. We're going to get an update from him on what is happening in the veterans legislative and policy world. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Ed.
Before we dive into that, we've been talking a lot about the stuff that we do at River for suicide prevention, the pain control, the TBI, all of these things. And earlier this week, we had Mrs. Zencraft stop by with some herbal medicine for Jason to get him feeling better.
Oh, yeah, Grandma's always looking out.
So I want to give her a shout out and thank her for that. And I want to thank her for all the support and the prayers that she does for us. But we also got informed this week our work is getting international recognition. And it's kind of humbling and it's kind of exciting and it's kind of like, oh boy, now we got to really show what we've been doing. Our paper titled U.S. Veteran Culture Redefining Suicide Prevention Approaches to Include Integrative and Complementary Medicine was accepted for oral presentation by the International Association of Suicide Prevention. So Jason and I worked very hard on that, and it's kind of humbling. For those of you that don't understand the meaning of that, many PhDs are not published in international conventions, and if they are, a lot of them just present a poster. But Jason and I are going to be going out, and we will be headliners. And the really I looked at the scientific committee that went through it, and there wasn't one U.S. doctor on the committee. All the other PhDs and whatnot, they came from Europe, they came from New Zealand, they came from Australia, and China. So for an American paper to make it through that committee, what do you think, Jason?
Yeah, it's impressive. I think there's a lot of things that we're stumbling upon here at the Institute that certain doctors around the world are recognizing individually, but we are fortunate enough to have this open mentality where we're not shut off to only physical health, only mental health, only counseling, only this, that, or the other thing. We're able to look at all the different issues that can contribute to, suicide, depression, anxiety, anger, whatever the issue may be. But we have the ability to look at a multitude of treatments to help, because it's, if you have 4 flat tires on your car, you don't just air one of them up and say, oh, it's going to drive just fine. No, you got to look at all 4 tires and make sure everything is running effectively. So that's what we try to do at the Institute. So it's pretty exciting to be recognized and to be able to go present over there in New Zealand.
Well, we let Dr. Shulkin know, the VA secretary, and he gave us that's great news. He's excited for us. So we're even getting recognized by the VA secretary. And I just want to say to everybody out there that has been supporting River, this isn't just Jason and I. This is all of us. It took a team to get this recognition, and all the vets that have trusted us, all the vets that have supported us, all the non-vets. And I want to take a few minutes this morning and tell you that, we got recognition internationally. So, good morning, Sam. Sorry, I kind of stole your thunder this morning.
No, I just want to say congratulations, Ed and Jason and River, and we're really proud of you here in Montana.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's bittersweet.
Yeah, I understand. I attended your Green Star family awareness ceremonies, and we got the conversation rolling thanks to you guys at River and Jesse Ramos. As hard a time as I give him about veterans, he does show up, and he showed up with you all. And these are tough topics, and I look forward to greater victories that you guys have. Again, congratulations.
Well, Sam, it's interesting to see all of this coming together, but we watch the news, we see all the craziness that's going on in D.C., the swamp, as you want to call, or as some people call it. We watch everything that's going on. I want to give another shout out to Marie Cole. I mean, that lady is a pistol. She brought free speech right into Missoula. And that's kind of what we've been fighting for with River. We're trying to give the veterans, as the original mantra for River was, giving the veterans a voice and a choice. And Marie's bringing up a really interesting speaker. You want to give a couple minutes?
Yeah, well, first, as with Concerned Veterans for America here in Montana, we have a initiative called Defend the First. So what we believe, our principles at CVA, are that veterans fought for freedom, and veterans swore an oath to the Constitution. One of the great founding amendments of our Constitution is the First Amendment. And one of the reasons we believe so strongly in free speech, Ed, and I think you guys agree with us, is you cannot, in a free society, you cannot debate bad ideas unless you have free speech. There is no other mechanism that we can check and debate the value of good and bad ideas in a free society if we suppress speech. It's not possible. So in order for us to advance, in order for technology to grow, in order for us to prosper and our country to be better, freedom of speech is a cornerstone of our development in the United States of America. Maria Cole, who is an ally, I believe, Ed, to the vet community. I think you would agree with me on that. And the vets have rallied around her. Decided to bring in a controversial speaker for the University of Montana. And whether or not you agree with the speaker or not, the actions the university took to block that were shocking to many of us in the veteran community. We want to see the discourse of ideas. We want to see I want
to see the civil
discourse. That's a great point. And let me tell you, we've seen bad ideas in the vet community. We've seen bad policies. We've seen no civil discourse, and the execution and suppression of freedom of speech in many of the countries we've deployed to. And that issue resonates with veterans.
Well, at the Institute, we all have a lot of emotional ties to what we're doing. And sometimes those can get to what seems like a heated debate. And after we had Maria on, we have a code word in the Institute, and it's civil discourse.
Civil discourse, I love it.
So it means that you don't have to agree with me. You can't yell at me.
Well, and that's something, River, you guys could provide great leadership in combination with CVA Montana in helping educate veterans on civil discourse. Veterans are really good at discourse, but sometimes we get heated. And And there are tools and there are great mentoring offered by you guys on how we can engage on these issues and do so in a respectful, civil way. But let us never shy away from healthy debate in this country on issues, because bad ideas are what get our veterans into bad situations. And we want to see more support from River and CVA on that in Montana.
Well, one of the interesting things is we've kind of let the government run amok. I watch what's going on back in D.C., and, even before the FBI crap and all the other stuff going on, I look at, people don't remember Lois Lerner and the IRS, where 501c3s had anything to do with veterans. They were not getting approved.
Right.
And so we've got to take the pages or the playbook from Dr. Martin Luther King. He taught us well on how to advance a cause without being violent. I look back to the last 5 years. Jason, did you ever think we'd be invited to an international conference?
Nope, not at all. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, it's pretty wild, but it's great to see River kind of bloom and help so many veterans in the way that it does. So it's great to see.
Well, I'll tell you, Ed, I hadn't gotten the chance, I was traveling over the break. I hadn't gotten the chance to tell you, but when we posted some of those pictures from your suicide awareness event, I'm part of an organization called United States of Hope, and we reach a lot of people internationally. We had people from Africa, countries in Africa, Rwanda, Sudan, Kenya. We had people from Indonesia, Afghanistan, Iraq, asking, how can I get curriculum on suicide prevention? Our countries, specifically this ORPRA in Rwanda, have experienced trauma. And we have citizens committing suicide from war trauma experience. How do we get that here? So I want to encourage you guys. People are noticing your work.
Thank you.
I've been through a lot of the known programs for suicide prevention. And the biggest issue that I always find is, okay, we can get the person talking, but then what?
Right.
And it goes, that question goes all the way back to, we can save an active duty member and put them into the veterans class, but they come back with such horrific injuries, and then what? Then we provide this, for lack of, we don't swear on here, so I can't swear, but this health care that, they get heroized. You know who I'm talking about without mentioning names on the radio, but they're not really taken very well care of.
Well, Ed, you and I both looked at the reports that when the VA report on suicide came out, and Montana was ranked, up there as one of the worst states in the nation for veteran suicide, one of the issues listed as a factor was access to care. Any thoughts on that, Ed?
Well, it's not only access to care, it's what we have found without, again, we don't mention names, but we have found over and over again that if a veteran comes into us for a crisis, 9 times out of 10 they have chronic pain of some kind. I mean, my goodness, how can you think straight if you're hurting? I mean, if you burnt yourself, everybody's had a minor burn. Can you imagine if that was 24/7? How can you honestly think they can think straight after that?
Right.
And then you top it off with the issue of TBI, which is traumatic brain injury, and undiagnosed vestibular. And I was talking to a veteran's wife this week. I was trying to explain it to her. And I was like, okay, imagine walking on a trampoline. That's how a lot of these guys with vestibular feel. You know, when you walk on that trampoline, you're kind of unsteady, and you're looking for a handhold or something because they don't even know. I can't even imagine how some of these guys make it.
Right. It's a flying squirrel Missoula experience.
Yeah. And when it comes to the traumatic brain injury, a lot of people think, okay, you know, they think traumatic brain injury, they think something extremely severe, missing part of the brain or in a coma, can't walk, whatever. Those are traumatic brain injuries, absolutely. But what about mild traumatic brain injury? Somebody gets knocked unconscious from a blast, or, you know, the guy's job is to put charges on doors and over and over again, being exposed to blasts and rifle fire and whatever else. Those add up. You know, those rattle the brain. It's like you're filling a bucket full of water. Whether you're using a teaspoon or a cup, it eventually fills up. And those teaspoons or cups are damaged, you know, could be small, could be large. However, it starts to affect the brain. And how does it affect the brain? People usually think, oh, they can't walk, they can't see, or whatever. What happens to the hypothalamus? What happens to the pituitary gland? You damage that, and your endocrine system, which produces hormones, is going to be off. What happens if a male just has low testosterone? That's it. Everything else is healthy, but they have low testosterone. Anger, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, all these things go up. Sex drive, libido, self-image, self-efficacy, all these things drop. That's just from testosterone. Now, throw in thyroid-stimulating hormone, growth hormone, all these other hormones that regulate the body need to be in homeostasis. And if they are not, I mean, that just in itself is going to have serious repercussions. So it's important to look at not only your mental health, which is always important, but also your physical health, especially when it comes to traumatic brain injury.
Well, I want to applaud you guys at River, again, for what you're doing on the physical health side, and I want to highlight some things that have developed with President Trump on the mental health.
That's where we were going next, because, I mean, we kind of stole your thunder this morning. We were kind of excited.
Kind of got rambling there. I'll be all right, though.
But I do want to point out to the audience, 20 PhDs looked at what we're doing with our paper, and they asked us to present.
Yeah, it's great. Well, what President Trump did is pretty non-controversial. It's a long time coming. Is he issued an executive order that directed the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, and the Veterans Affairs to come up with solutions that offer seamless services to recent veterans. Now, our organization, Concerned Vets for America, are urging the implementation of the EO to look at community organizations like River, to look at community organizations that can help these departments come up with those seamless solutions. We look at the intent of the executive order, and we believe those government agencies should work closely with community-based mental health providers to offer more timely care to veterans.
One issue we have at River, so we see it time and time again, the laws and the CFRs are written so loosely, it leaves it open for a bureaucrat to interpret.
Great point. Go ahead, Ed. Yeah.
Well, how do we solve that?
Well, if I may, we typically at CVA focus on policies or principles instead of just specific pieces of legislation because, as you all know, having worked in the legislature, pieces of legislation can change. Things can get added on.
For the record, I have never worked in the legislature.
Okay. Well, working with our fine representatives in Helena, things can get added on that weren't necessarily a part of the bill's original intent. What we do is we try to advocate for principles and policies. And one of the principles that we are strongly urging, Ed, with our VA Choice initiatives, is to take the power away from the bureaucrats and empower the veteran. One of the bills that we are excited about for now is the Veterans Empowerment Act. Veterans Empowerment Act has been introduced by Doug Lamborn, Representative Doug Lamborn, and it allows veterans to choose civilian medical providers or existing VA medical facilities without requiring pre-authorization from the VA.
Now, you do know that we're a credentialed VA medical facility.
I've heard that, yes.
The other issue is not just the medical. We're dealing with a number of schools that are up in arms. As we are a school, the VA is putting so much mandates on the educational facilities, it's almost like they're choosing or forcing the veteran to choose who they want for an educational experience. But these veterans that we work with, like you earned that right. It was a contracted agreement between you and the U.S. government that you would have this money available for your education.
Right. So I think it's very important for your listeners, who I know are a lot of veterans out there, to understand that at Concerned Vets for America, we believe in the principle of choice. And we want to empower veterans along the lines of what Ed's talking about, to have choice in their educational benefits and how they're used, and have choice in the benefits they've earned for medical care. And the constant battle that we share, Ed, is that bureaucrats try to take away that choice. And so many of our nation's heroes have fought and bled and earned those benefits. We don't require our veterans to go to a national veterans university. Why would we require them to go to national veterans health care? Why would we pipe stove that? We are all about choice. We want to see veterans have choice in education, choice in health care.
But the problem that we're faced with is, okay, they want to see the educational benefits make the individual employable again.
Right.
To me, the education was a right that they earned. If they come to River, a lot of these guys that are coming to River are 100% disabled. So how are we going to get them employable? But the education that they get empowers their lives.
Well, as you know, Ed, and I'll let Jason touch on that, but real quickly, many of our veterans feel so blocked in choice by government barriers that exist that they give up on health care, that they give up on their GI Bill, that they give up on education, that they give up on starting a business. We exist purely to remove those barriers to the veterans. We want to empower our veterans to prosper and to succeed.
Without pointing fingers, and I'll let Jason address some things, but we've lost veterans literally to suicide when choice did not pay the bill and the hospital turned the individual over to a collection agency.
Right.
And they were hounded to death by collectors threatening to take away their compensation and their means to...
Missoula leader Dan Gallagher had a great saying: what was once yellow ribbons turns into red tape.
There you go, Jason.
Wow. That was powerful. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we really drilled on the healthcare pretty hard, but to speak to what you were alluding to before, Ed, the issue of 100% disabled veterans being able to use their GI Bill, however, they can't get a job. So it's kind of this catch-22 where, okay, this individual has 100% disability, they can't get a job. Does that mean they can't use their GI Bill? No, they should be able to use it. They earn that. Just because they're 100% disabled, doesn't mean that anyone or any organization has the ability to say, oh, you don't deserve an education. Well, just because they can't get a job doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to use that GI Bill to gain knowledge. I mean, what's the point of living if not to learn? You're always learning. I don't care if you're 98 years old, you're going to learn something new.
I strongly agree with you, Jason.
Stop learning is the minute
Well,
you die.
another issue that I see, and I'm just pointing this one out, is on the issue of using your GI Bill. As a school, we're capped at how much we can charge by law. But if you go to that cap, the bureaucrats get frustrated with you because they can compare what a state-sponsored school is charging, and it's kind of comparing apples to oranges. But if somebody goes to that level that, like what we do at our institute, and we charge a higher tuition rate, that tuition supports a lot of the programming that makes that veteran successful. It's not cookie-cutter education. There's a problem with that. It is not effective to try and figure that everything is the same for every individual. Our staff spends hours each week on every individual person. Well, that means that it's expensive.
To the veterans, I strongly believe in River and many of our community resources for veterans. To the veterans that's listening, or to a family member, if you feel strongly about these issues and you believe that veterans have earned their benefits and have earned the right to have choice, please come work with us at Concerned Vets for America. You can find us Concerned Vets for America Montana on Facebook, or come into River and talk to the great folks there. We want to help you succeed in healthcare, in education, or if you're trying to start a business.
And for the record, we do not endorse any organization at River, but we find that we'll bring everybody on this program.
Well, very cool mindset.
Yeah, we appreciate you having me on, Ed.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Sam. I appreciate it, and I hope all the viewers out there enjoyed our show today.
Thank you, Jason.
So thank you very much for listening to Veterans Heartbeat. We'd not be able to bring it to you without all the support of the listeners. And thank you again to Farside Signs for sponsoring the show. If you do need a unique vehicle design, swing on by and check them out. Also, thank you to our main sponsor, River. River has an array of services such as veterans-focused education, a vestibular disorder clinic, and now non-pharmaceutical treatments for pain, anxiety, and depression. Check them out on Facebook or on the web at riverofchange.org. Lastly, we'd like to show our appreciation to all of our veterans. Thank you for serving our country and keeping it safe.